forgive us our debts as we forgive those, our debtors, or forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, which would be the more Methodist one. The debtors is usually in the Our Father, the Catholic prayer, same thing. So let's look at some of this. I think the real thing that we need to focus in on here is the word forgiveness, first of all, which 9 out of 10 people that, bless their hearts, that are teaching it, I don't think they get it. First of all, in the Latinized languages, in the Romance languages that we have, the word is actually, what is it? What would it, like Spanish? What's the Spanish word for forgive? Anyone know? No, that's Jimmy Buffett. No, I'm kidding. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. No, that's a great song, Fruitcakes, if you haven't heard it. This is the church. Here is the people. Religion's in the hands of some crazy-ass people. It's a great song. It's the Buddhist in you, it's the pagan in me, it's the Muslim in her. She's Catholic, ain't she? My favorite line in the song Fruitcakes is he's like, there's a thin line between Saturday night and Sunday morning. I've always loved that one. No, the word is pardon. Pardon. Now, let me tell you this. Pardoning has absolutely nothing to do with forgiveness whatsoever. Nothing. Nothing. It's okay to pardon somebody. It's, to me, that, okay, I forgive you, I pardon you, I let you off the hook. I'm spiritual, I'm a good, upstanding person, so I let you off the hook. That's fine. That's not what it means. So let's have a little bit of a focus moment here. Big breath. Forgiveness in Aramaic, the word is shabuk. And it means to remove the root of my suffering. It means to literally take the very thing that's causing my upset, that was triggered by the situation or person that I'm in relationship with. Take the thing that's actually causing the upset and take responsibility for it and remove it from the system. By how? By a really deep breath and canceling whatever it is that you were seeking in the moment. So we're going to actually go a little bit deeper into this. The word is, in this case, it's actually washbuklan. Washbuk is forgive. Washbuklan chaubein tahain. Aikana dapchanan shwakan lachayavein. Say that. Yeah, it's funny because sometimes people try and it's actually awesome. But washbuk, there's different meanings for this besides just that removing the root of my suffering. It means to cancel. It means to drop something on the ground and walk away from it. It means to untie or unravel. Interesting, untie or unravel, because some things you're not quite able to just, if it's like a generational family thing, you, a lot of times you don't just drop the carcass on the ground and walk away. It takes a little bit of winding. And it's interesting because, how do you actually do that with something like, I heard someone say twine earlier when you were talking about twine, you were talking about leather around your flute. There's a little bit of an insight that was mistranslated. It is easier to get a camel through the eye of the needle than a rich man into heaven, which is not true. It was a bad translation. The word isn't camel, gamala, the word is gamla, or maybe it's in reverse, which actually doesn't mean camel, it means rope. It was a mistranslation. It's not a camel. And it's funny, people said, yeah, the eye of the needle was a door at the wall of Jerusalem. Lie, it's not true. Somebody made it up, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, that one's not true. But it's actually a rope. Now, you're really not gonna get a camel through the eye of a needle without a lot of like Quentin Tarantino kind of like bloodshed. That's gonna be a bloody needle. And maybe you can get a camel through the eye of a needle, but it's not gonna be pretty. Now, a rope, you can get through the eye of a needle a lot easier, but how would you do it? You're not gonna put it through at once, you're gonna do what? You're gonna unravel it. And this is forgiveness. And you don't do it by pulling it and yanking it. You're obviously not gonna cut it in half. You're gonna work it against itself, and you're gonna get in there mindfully, and just very mindfully take a thread off, take a piece off at a time and get it through the eye, one piece at a time. This is what forgiveness really is. It's the mindfulness of not trying to smash a mistranslated camel through a space that big, actually smaller than that big, but rather something that you can get through, but it's something that's very mindful. Does that change like our view of that phrase maybe just a little bit? But here, trespasses, we've got trespasses / debts, or debts and debtors. And I had, of course, the question before of people are, afraid that maybe the things they've done to others and they can't quite let go of, and the things have been done to them that they feel hostile about, maybe they're going to have some kind of repercussions. And so I talked a little bit about, how do you forgive? And it's kind of a separate thing from the prayer. It's a whole nother workshop gathering. But I'll just say briefly, when the thing that goes in that got triggered, there's something your body was not doing that planted it in your energy body in the first place. Something happened, something stopped happening for a brief moment in time that caused a packet of energy to lock somewhere in your body. What you just do? You stop breathing. Except for Ruth, she was like totally on, not even a flinch, smart ass. I'm just kidding. No. It was awesome. No, she was really into it. But Steve's gonna punch me after this is over. He was taking a nice little nap there. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I haven't done that in a long time. Oh, that feels good. But I feel like there's a backlash that's tomorrow I'm gonna have popcorn flying at me during the service. But what I'm saying is, like, somebody pulls out in front of you on the road, or you just found out that somebody you love was tragically killed, or there's a phone. Oh my God, something's happening at the Twin Towers. Somebody just crashed a plane. What do you mean crashed a plane into and you go, what stops? Your breath. Now, interestingly, in the beginning, in that first line, in the first line of the prayer, it's, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That kadosh has another form of that word, which is kudsha, also holy. Rucha de kudsha, rucha de kudsha. Rucha, although it's not in the prayer here, rucha is a real specific word in Aramaic, and it means essentially a force. It means force, some kind of manifest force that you can sense with your senses, but you don't necessarily know what it is, where it comes from, etc. Now, it's translated in the Jesus teachings as spirit. Let me say, he probably never heard the word spirit in his life. Latin was just starting to form. The chances of him hearing it are almost nil, almost zero. He probably heard the Greek, pneuma, although there's debate about how that was pronounced back then. But the word is ruach in Hebrew, ruch in Arabic, although that wasn't quite moving yet either, and rucha in Aramaic. So rucha de kudsha. Now, we got that word spirit. I tell people all the time that if you get the green Gideon Bible or the blue one from the hotel, they want you to take it because they've got thousands more in the on the cart there. I'm just kidding. Well, no, not really. They usually have them on the housekeeping cart because people steal Bibles, I guess. But take the word, don't do it with your own Bible. Take a pencil, and every time you see the word spirit come out of Jesus' mouth, write a different word over top. And this is the word. Breath. Breath. The word spirit, whatever that means, would have been absolutely foreign to his culture at that time. They would have no clue what you're talking about. They would have understood breath. And so that word rucha means spirit. That's ambiguous. It means breath. It means air, the movement of air, wind. It means magnetism. It means the feeling. If you've ever been near an electrical box or line and you get that feeling, that's rucha. The feeling you get from the sun, not necessarily the heat, but the force you feel from sun is rucha. This here, rucha. All these different forces, rucha. Magnetism, electromagnetism. Today, nuclear forces would fit into that, although I don't know that they had an idea of that back then. What I'm saying is these are all examples of manifest forces. In John 3, he was talking to Nicodemus, who's a supposed leader of the Jews, although Nicodemus, Jesus basically said, dude, I'm paraphrasing, dude, you're like supposed to be the leader of the Jews and you don't have a clue about anything I'm telling you, and this is like baseline spiritual teachings. I know that's a paraphrase. And he's like, you literally, and this is one thing people don't realize, Nicodemus in Aramaic, literally when Jesus says you must be born again, and that's another teaching, Meteled Mandarish in the Aramaic, but Nicodemus, it's not in the Bible, literally says in the original Aramaic, you're telling me I should go back up into my mother's vagina and come back out again? That's what the original Aramaic says. So yeah, why is that not in the Bible? Shouldn't that be in the Christian church? Yeah, and they say womb, I believe, in the Bible, but it doesn't say womb. So what I'm saying, though, is Yeshua says, you know, the wind comes and the wind goes. You don't know where it's coming from, but you hear, or coming where it's going, but you hear its voice. Guess what the word for wind is? Rucha. And then he says, as it is with Rucha. Same word. And I don't think he meant spirit, which would be flapping your arms about like a nutcase. He probably went, as it is with Rucha. So, like, what's this I feel on my arm? What's that? What I feel on my arm is actually hot air. Now, I want you to take a breath. In Jesus' language of Aramaic, breath is not the hot air. That's not what I feel on my arm, but rather my feminine perception of its movement. It's not the air in my lungs that is my breath, but rather my perception of the air moving through me. On my arm, I'm feeling hot air. My breath is my awareness of that, not it. It's not physical. It's not, that's air, that's not breath. Are you getting what I'm saying? Breath is not the air, breath is the movement of it and my perception of that. So to be spiritual isn't the perception of things. It's your it's not, what is the perception? It's not the things. To be spiritual means to be aware of sound, which sounds like rain, right? All day long, rain. That, or the air, even the air conditioning, the sounds of animals. If you're in a really quiet room, if you have a sensory deprivation chambers, if you've ever been in those, you can hear your circulatory system, and your nervous system is an even higher pitch. It's a wheezing sound that you've all heard before, and you thought it was from too many Who concerts, which it could be. It could be. But actually, in a lot of cases, it's your circulatory system and your nervous system. The nervous system's a little bit higher pitch. What? Yeah. So the Who does it too, though, quite efficiently, I must say. But so what I'm talking about here is this Holy Spirit isn't a thing. As a matter of fact, the Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, at the time of Jesus was called she. She. And they would say, she does great things for me. Now, some people turn that into like a she God, and it's not what it meant. It wasn't that kind of a metaphor. It was literally she who undoes the effects and the errors of my ways of thinking and being. But she is activated by me going. So Holy Spirit becomes holy breath. The whole, all-embracing, all-encompassing breath. There's nothing you can take to the bosom of the mother, to the womb of the mother, that she cannot not only allow, but embrace. And you can't hide from the mother. You can go under the table, she's there. You can go under the chair, she's there too. And, you know, if anybody's had, you know, medicinal like experiences with some kinds of plants, there's an aspect of very feminine, and there's nowhere to go. You can't hide, because she is you and she's within you. She's in your blood, in your bones, as it says in the Essene Gospel of Peace. But that idea of the Holy Spirit being the all-embracing breath of, the all-embracing feminine breath of God. Now, we have the also idea of the unforgivable sin, which was what? What? Adam and Eve? No, you're thinking on sex terms again. Come on, Richard. I'm just kidding. No. Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. So I've talked about blasphemy a few times here. Blaspheme in Aramaic literally means to cut something from its source. So do you know how to, I'm going to show you how to blaspheme the Holy Spirit. This is how you do it. Stop breathing. That's what it means. So unforgivable while you're not breathing. It's not an unforgivable sin that lasts forever. If you're not breathing, she can't come in and do what she needs to do. So forgiveness is not possible. Because when you let it go, she's the one that comes in and sweeps it away. You getting what I'm saying? So if you're not breathing, what happens is you lock it in your, and I'll say this too, it doesn't go fly out of your body, okay? What happens is it actually redistributes back into your energy system. And whatever, an example, let me put it this way. You got a 33-year-old girl, I've been using this for years, and she wants nothing more than to please her father when he comes home drunk from the bar. And she knows he wants that cigarette. So she goes and she hears him coming in the front door, and she runs over to that glass ashtray that he always said don't touch. And she goes to grab it on the table. It flies off just as he's walking through the door, and bash. And it goes in the 30 directions of glass. And he gets on top of her, doesn't even have to physically touch her, and gets on top of her with liquor on his breath and screams her down into a fetal position on the floor, never touches her. What is she not doing? Locked in the system. She goes through her life. God knows how many more times something like that happens. She's right in front of her partner. She's 33 years old. 30 years later, she has no recollection that it ever happened. And maybe the partner's got the scent of alcohol. Maybe they don't. Maybe they said just the right thing. They put their finger in her face. And all of a sudden, she's not looking at her partner at the age of 33. She's looking at her father from the perception of a 3-year-old, but she's not conscious of it. She doesn't have a present moment experience. She's reliving the echoes of her hidden past, and she has no idea it's happening. Now, unless somebody shows her, hey, wait, they are a trigger for something that's already inside of you. How do you know it's in you, or if it's their fault? Who's feeling it? If you're feeling it, it's yours. It's kind of simple, isn't it? So, and then what do you actually do? The first thing you do is basically reject any ideas of attack and ask, literally, just, you're looking right at them, can you help me? You know, and what's funny is enough times, if enough things lay over the present moment, you look at that partner, and if you haven't done any forgiveness, you look at them and you're like, you know, I feel like I don't even know who you are anymore. What you're really saying is, you know, I really don't feel like I know who I am anymore, is what you're really saying. And you think about it, you know, and it's kind of like another way of looking at this too is lobbying in Washington. If you go in with that idea of fighting against all the sins and all the evil, you're going to go in, and you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to build the walls higher and higher than they ever had. You can be well-intentioned, but you go in there and all those walls are going to go higher because they're just going to resist all that. But imagine if somebody could come in and say, hey, wait a second here. I know what you want. I know what I want. Let's find the common ground. Let's find the common thread. They don't seem to be too good at that lately. Quite of a deadlock. But again, if you're understanding that forgiveness it's not pardoning them, because if you let them off the hook, then I can stuff my garbage back down, and then it's just going to fly back up again. And then I stuff it back down, and then it flies back up again. That's not forgiveness. It's not pardoning. That's okay. Pardoning's okay. It's cute. It's sweet. It's kind. But it's not taking care of what's in you. And the funny thing is, the more you remove those roots of your suffering, and I'll say too, you think you got this little, that's it, that's the taproot. But then you kind of keep pulling, and it turns into this tiny thread, and then all of a sudden the bunny pulls out of the hat, this big, huge 12-foot tall bunny. You think that, this is going to be a simple little thing, and it doesn't always work out that way. But if you continue the process, your load gets a little lighter, your load gets a little lighter. Now, the ideas here of offenders, trespassing, debts would actually be, that word chalbain is closer to hidden past, which is what I'm talking about, those echoes of the hidden past. But there's also in words like chayabain, take on an idea of debt, of trespassing, Does anybody know what a proxemic zone is? A proxemic zone is, I have to be careful who I talk about since I'm recording this, but everybody knows somebody that, wants to talk and they want to get like in your face, and then you lean back and they kind of move in, and then you're like at a 45-degree angle backward, which is not humanly possible, and they're on top of you like Bugs Bunny, like talking on. Everybody has that. Well, that too close zone is the proxemic zone. It's similar to your kingdom that I was talking about earlier, the Malku, or the Malkuta, if you put it in the experiential sense. Everybody knows one of those. Well, what's funny about that is really what a debt or a trespasser is. It's not necessarily meaning that if somebody owes you money, just let it go and they shouldn't pay you. It's not about that, it's about how you feel about that. So, if somebody owes you whatever it may be, or maybe you owe someone and you feel really awful about it, or maybe they already passed on, and you've got all that stuff going on, it's kind of like karma. It just means action. Karma isn't actually like you do this and you're gonna, experience doom. Karma is not about what you did. Karma is about how you feel about your actions. That's where you pay for karma. So let's say that somebody blissfully, consciously runs over a kid in the street, cancel a thought. That's pretty heavy karma, because there's ignoring all of that deep stuff of obviously we know right or wrong. But if somebody in the middle of the night, let's say they're in a rainstorm and trees are flying across the road and they hit several trees trying to get to their mother who just had a heart attack, and they're trying to get to her to help her, before she dies, and a kid hits the side of the car and they kill the kid and they have no idea about it. They did it, there's an action, but that's not the issue. The issue is how they feel about it and their awareness of it. You getting what I'm saying? So again, it's just like prayer. It isn't the thing itself. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you're saying. It's how you really feel about it. And it's that causes that karmic slapback. That's where it actually comes from. It's not the thing itself. And that includes if you're ignoring the fact that you just, whatever happened, that also comes into play, because that gets into really dark, sinister, borderline psychopathic actions, etc. So, does that make sense? So we're going to move into these. So I just want to in those. Let me actually give you that clear translation. What I write here, if I can find my. I have so many different. There it is. I just want to give it to you exactly like I have here. So, the previous line, provide the nourishment of clear insight and realization through me now and in each present moment. That was the give us this day our daily bread. And then release the echoes of my hidden past as I cancel all of my concerns with others. That's not necessarily canceling debt. Although, if you've got all kinds of emotions wrapped around it, maybe that's what you need to do, is cancel debt too. Or the people that you feel, invaded your space. How many people have you leaned back at a 45-degree impossible angle while Bugs Bunny was over top of you, talking a little too close, that kind of thing. So it's something a lot less heavy and dramatic than what it's not. In other words, the stuff, it's how you feel about it. That's the issue. So if someone feels that they did like a really bad thing and that they're going to pay for it, that's what you need to look at. It's not the thing, it's not the action, it's not the words you use, it's what's behind it, okay? And that's why Yeshua would say things like, look, when he was talking about physical adultery, not the adultery I was speaking of earlier, but he's like, look, if you're, already looking at your friend's wife like that, you've already committed adultery, Doesn't matter if you do the physical act, and it's true. You've already done it.